Today, I'm going to be sharing the core foundational elements of your sales conversation, your pitch, how you deliver the value statements, everything that has to line up for that prospect to purchase. And if one of these things is missing, your sales process is really broken and something has to change. So today we're going to be dissecting, if anything, is what's missing from your current sales process and what you can do instead to make sure that you have the best possible chance of closing every single customer that you talk with. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of stuff here. Let's just get right into it and break this down. So when we're looking at sales, right? And when we're looking at sales, I'm going to draw this up here. We have to understand what a real prospect really is, okay? Because when I started, I didn't understand or appreciate the volume and how numbers work in terms of our sales pipeline. So here's the truth. About 74% or 73% of all of your prospects are not sales ready today. Meaning, if you put the perfect product in front of them and did everything right, 3/4 of them would not be ready to make a purchase today. So, when I was a young guy, I was in university, I was door knocking, I was hungry, I was selling a lot of stuff, but I would get mad every time I didn't close somebody. Now, on one side, it made me tenacious and it made me sell better. But on the other side, I didn't appreciate that, a big part of your prospects, they're not lost causes. They're just going to end up buying later on down the road. And that's why we have nurture sequences. I've done a bunch of videos on that on this channel. So check it out. So what we want to do is we want to realistically, vet or disposition prospects from ready to buy or able to buy right now versus the longer term leads. I think that's step number one, because the last thing you want to do is put leads or prospects, people in front of your sales staff when they don't have the means to buy at the moment. They're just in the exploratory phases. They still have to get nurtured. So that's step number one. Okay, because 1/4 of your prospects are going to be sales ready today. 3/4 are not sales ready, but in 12, 18 months, something around there, the majority of these prospects will be further on down that funnel. And then, they'll just be in a much better position for somebody to convert those people into a closed sale. Okay, with that out of the way, because I think that's important to recognize who we're talking to. With that out of the way, let's break down how a whole sales conversation should go and what's actually driving people. Because I think, number one, a lot of new sales reps or sales reps who aren't hitting their targets, they don't understand what it takes to actually move somebody from an interested state into a buyer state. There's different things that have to occur, okay? So number one, here, let me just draw this right here. Number one, it's all about getting somebody to the other side of the fence, the other side of the river. I use the river analogy. So over here is your prospect, okay? They don't want to be on this side of the river. They're unhappy. Maybe the cows are not very tasty. Maybe they don't have enough food. They're thirsty on this side of the river. Over here is the current situation. So this is what's happening in the prospect today. And what is filling their day today? It's pain. It's missed opportunity. And then it's unhappiness. Those are all the things in the prospect's world today. For example, maybe, going back to when I was selling paint, the homeowner, maybe they have a bad back, they can't move. They're frustrated because, they used to paint the house, now they can't, but now all their windows are rotting because they still have wood frame windows and they don't want to build because to replace the windows because that's really expensive. So they need to paint it, but they can't find somebody to do it. That's a lot of pain. Now, the good thing is in business, it's all about problem solving. That's really what business does. There's a problem in the marketplace that people have right here today. There's a problem, and business offers solutions to that problem. In a nutshell, that's all it is. We find a pain, we find an angle in the market, a problem that other people aren't solving or they're not solving really well, and we present the marketplace with a solution. Hey, you've got this issue, I can fix it for you. So what's really happening in a sales conversation is we're understanding what's going on in the prospect's world today, and then we want to understand where they want to be tomorrow. So tomorrow, the prospect is happy. You have unicorns. You have rainbows. That's supposed to be a unicorn. You have happiness over here. You have goals. You have achievement. You have success. All of these words. This is where the prospect wants to be. This is their dreams. So if you ask anybody on the street, anybody, the vast majority of people will have a vision for how they want their future to be. Now, in the future, there's one thing that's absent in everybody's mind. It's the pain. It's the missed opportunities. It's the unhappiness. It's the problems. Because the rose-colored glasses through which we look at the future, there's the absence of pain and frustration and challenge. So that's the goal everybody aspires to. I'll use an example. Let's say you're an overworked entrepreneur and you're working in your business, right? You're doing all the sales calls, you're doing all the work. In your future, your tomorrow, you probably envision and fantasize about having a team. You can concentrate on your big ideas and not actually doing the day-to-day grunt work in the business. That's part of your future dream. And that's what you're aspiring to. So in a nutshell, the whole sales process is just a matter of taking somebody from today and moving them across the river to tomorrow. And what does that take? Well, we need a bridge. And this bridge across the river, because we've got all sorts of bad things. We got piranhas in the river. We've got sharks in the river. Maybe it's a freshwater shark. We've got snakes in the river. We've got all of these bad things that the prospect wants to avoid. They can't fall in the river or else they're toast. So your product is the bridge. This is what takes somebody that they can walk from today, all the pain, all the suffering, missed opportunity, turmoil. They walk across the bridge using your product, and now they're across the river into tomorrow in unicorn world. Now you as a salesperson or your sales team, all they do is they're the helping hand where they can hold the prospect's hand as the prospect walks across the bridge. That's sales in a nutshell. Now, what drives people to buy? It's moving. It's transforming their state from the pain of today into the aspiration, the success, the rainbows of tomorrow. That's what it is. Now, that's the high level, the hocus pocus. Now, how do we actually apply that in a sales conversation? Because it's easier said than done. So let me just break down exactly how you take somebody from the one side of the river, the today, into the tomorrow land of success and purchasing. Because if somebody has a lot of pain and they have a vision for the future and you can give them the solution to bridge and all they have to do is give you money for it, you've made a sale. Okay. So when we're outlining our sales conversation, and I talk a lot about it, we have to understand the pain of today. If we don't understand what's going on in the prospect's world today, there's no way we can paint the rosy picture of tomorrow. There's no way we can identify the right type of bridge. Do we have to construct a wooden bridge, a stone bridge, an iron bridge, like all the steel bridge? We don't know what type of solution that prospect needs. So the very first thing we have to do, I'm going to skip the whole framing the call. I talk about that enough. But the very first thing we have to do in that sales conversation is not to talk about us, not talk about the company, not talk about our product or the pitch or the best deal. It's none of that. We have to talk about the prospects today. Fill me in. You pretend you're blind, right? You can't see. So now you have to ask questions for the prospect to actually describe what their today world looks like on their side of the river. That's what you have to do. And now there's power in that because with salespeople, a lot of people, so here, let's focus on the pain, the pain of today. A lot of salespeople, they make, train, that's supposed to be a P. All right. So a lot of salespeople, they make assumptions. Now, when you make an assumption, you make an ass out of you and me, common saying. Right? So instead of just assuming things about the prospect, so let's say you're selling a gym membership. Somebody walks in, they're overweight. Well, you may just assume they want to walk on the treadmill all the time, but you're assuming, you haven't asked. Or maybe, you're a doctor. The patient comes in with whatever. You may assume that there's something, whatever. You have to ask questions. So what we have to do as salespeople, whether it's yourself or your sales team, we have to make sure we're asking the right questions. So these are the questions you want to handle, right? Number one, you want to ask, what's not working? What's the big problem that you're facing right now? What's not working? And you want to find out from the prospect what the pain is. So you have to remember that the prospect wants to move away from the pain. On the one side of the river, we got pain, we've got all sorts of challenges, all of that type of stuff. The prospect wants to get rid of that. They want to remove the pain from their lives. So we want to ask them, what's not working? What's the big challenge you're facing? Why are we on this call? There's so many different ways you can ask it, but you have to find that first. Why? If there's no pain, there's no sale. If there's no pain, there's no sale. If we actually just recently had one of our guys set a call and the people hopped on the closing call, they had absolutely no pain. Everything was perfect in terms of what they were doing, in terms of the scope of what we were able to help with. There's no sale there because everything's great. And if you get people, now a really good salesperson, they'll dive deep and deep, but this was a legit case of they were doing very successful. Everything was great in terms of our scope. Now, there were pain points for other people, but that was outside of our service and what we could do for them. So we pointed them in the right direction so they could get assistance with those specific things. But when we're looking at just figuring out, hey, is this prospect, sellable? Well, is there pain? Yes or no? So we have to fully understand that pain. So what's not working? Now, once we understand that, hey, like what's the big thing we're trying to solve right now? What's the challenge? What's not working right? Now we have to fully understand, well, what's the cost of not fixing it? So let's say, going back to the one example I showed, or I mentioned with the painting your home. You've got wood windowsills, wood window frames, they're rotting. You can't really, you've got a bad back injury. You can't go up on a ladder you used to. And, you don't want to replace all of your windows with vinyl because you don't have the money. You need somebody to paint them. What's the cost of not going up and actually being able to paint those windows? Well, you're probably looking at a $20,000 bill to replace everything, convert it to, new vinyl windows. That's pretty expensive. Now, if I can paint all those windows for you for $2,000, that's solving the issue. But what's the cost? Well, the cost of inaction is about $20,000. That's pretty hefty, right? So what's not working? Well, hey, like my windows are peeling, the paint's peeling, and water's getting in. It's not good. I looked the other day, and all the paint's flaking off, and I can see some mold starting on one of the windowsills. Okay, well, like what happens if we don't solve this? Well, we got to replace the windows. Well, how much does that cost? $20,000. Well, now we can go deeper. So how much does it cost? $20,000. Okay, well, are you able to afford a $20,000 bill right now? Like that's a big chunk of money. Oh no. Okay, so what are you going to do? Right. So now we're going to go deeper and deeper. So like Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, you and I both know if you got rotting windowsills, water gets in, we might not just be looking at a $20,000 bill, because like what's the cost if water gets in and then you got to replace your all of your living room drywall and stuff like that, and you have a leak. Oh, well, this and this and this. Now, basically what we're doing is we're fully understanding the true scope of the problem. Because I'll tell you this, a lot of people, when you originally ask them, hey, what's the problem? What's the challenge in your business? They'll give you one answer. That's what they think. That's the surface level. More often than not, the real problem that you're finding is not even the first thing they said. You have to ask questions. So, with one of our offers, we help scale events and conferences. And a lot of people, they'll say, oh, what's your number one challenge? Oh, marketing. Well, the more questions we ask and the more we seek to understand their problem, the more we realize, well, they don't have a marketing issue. Their event's just, the foundation of their event is wrong. We have to change that. Or, their pricing structure is wrong. So it's not the marketing, it's that. We have to understand if you are a true expert in your field, if you really understand your customers, the industry, your solution, how that fits in, you'll be able to know. After a couple different questions, you'll get a sense. You can use your Toucan Sam, follow your nose, to really identify what the real problem is. And more often than not, the real problem has a higher cost of inaction or not fixing it, whatever word you want to use. So we seek to understand the cost of it. So now in this painting example, we took, just having some window rot, all the way through to replacing all of the windows. But if they don't do that, then we got water leakage, it gets in, we got mold in the house, we got big issues. It turns into a nightmare. So are we really dealing with a $20,000 problem? Well, no, we're probably dealing with a potential $100,000 problem. And hey, Mr. Seller, I just walked by, I can stick my finger in that windowsill over there. Chances are we need to fix that right away, right? Okay, so we understand the cost. Now we want to ask ourselves, a solution. So what are the options? Because quite honestly, if you're in a space that's a large enough market, there's going to be other competitors or different ways to solve the problem. For instance, if somebody's looking for weight loss, number one, they could hire a personal trainer. Number two, they could hire a personal chef because 6-packs are made in the kitchen. But number three, they could just get liposuction. So we want to understand first in this discovery phase, when we're trying to paint the picture of the one side of the river, well, what are all the options? What are all the different bridges that they can use to get to the other side? Because sometimes a prospect assumes that one solution is best for them, but the more you dig and the more you understand their true problems, the true situation, it may be another product. This happens all the time. People will get on these sales calls and they'll sell a $5,000 product, a $10,000 product, where maybe if we just dug a little bit deeper, maybe your $50,000 product would actually be a better fit for the customer, and that customer would pay rather than you lose the sale because you're pitching the wrong product. But this all comes down to the questions we're asking. So we want to find out, hey, what are the different ways you're currently looking at to solve this problem? Have you reached out for help from anybody? What other options are you looking at? If you're selling software, hey, have you demoed any other software? What do you think about it? All this type of stuff. You have to identify the solutions. Once we get a good idea on that, now we want to seek to understand the goals. So this is where we start painting the picture of tomorrow. Okay, so John, tell me about where you want to take this thing. You told me that you've got this problem. Well, let's say we figure this stuff out. talk to me. Like, what do you want the future to look like? Where do you want your business, whatever, to go? And now you dig into that. So, okay, well, I want to do this and this and this. Oh, gotcha. Well, like, just fill me in. Why do you want it this way? Oh, because of this and this and this. Oh, I got it. So, like, doing it this way, it would actually help you in this way. Is that right? Oh, yeah, it is. Seek to understand the goals. Because, like I said, you have to pretend that you're blind. You've got your eyes closed. You can't see anything. And you're relying on the prospect's words to paint the picture of what their current situation looks like on this side of the river. And then you want them to paint the picture through their words of the other side of the river. Only at that point do we move on into the sales conversation. But you as a sales rep or your team should clearly be able to articulate exactly what's going on today in the prospect's world and exactly what that future looks like and all the things that have to disappear or get fixed in order for that prospect, that person, to achieve their dream, their vision for tomorrow. That's all we're doing. So at that point, I call this discovery. After we finish discovery, at this point, we're going to explain and paint a picture of the bridge. So we've got on this side, and we want to move to this side with rainbows and unicorns. So now in the sales process, you've collected all the information you need, everything you need. We've got the river here. You're going to start painting a picture or building the bridge with the prospect. And this is what it looks like. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, hey, remember how you told me that you've got this problem and this problem, and this is what it looks like? Oh yeah, I remember, I do. Okay, well, so we're going to do what I call a pitch sandwich. Okay, well, blah 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 blah. You've got this problem. Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, we've got this thing. So this is your unique mechanism. Well, we for painting, right? So, hey, Mr. Prospect, remember how we were walking around outside your house and I could stick my fingers in your windowsill and the windows are all peeling, and you're just really worried about water getting in and having to replace the windows? Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, listen, like, we actually have a 3-tier window rehab solution. So this would be the unique mechanism, and I just made it up. We actually have a 3-tier window rehab solution that is a perfect fit for what you're doing. Now you're going to explain how. So, Mr. Prospect, we all know that wood windowsills are at an increased risk for window rot. So the first thing we're going to do, we're actually going to patch and repair every single windowsill on your home to make sure they're watertight. And so you would go on and explain how your product or service will solve their problem that they mentioned. Now, once you finish doing that, you're going to end off with what this means for you. So the benefit. So, Mr. Prospect, what this means for you, instead of having to scramble and worry about paying this $20,000 bill, you can keep your current wood windows. They're going to be fully repaired. They're going to be almost like brand new. And you're going to get another 5 to 7 years out of this paint job. And we actually guarantee it for another 3 years or whatever it is, right? That's your first pitch sandwich. So basically what we're doing is we are building this bridge out brick by brick with our words. Sometimes we use diagrams and flip books in the sales process, but you're basically saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I understand your problem. Remember how you told me this? Well, this step of the bridge, this part of the bridge is this. This is how it can help you. And this is what it means in terms of getting you on the other side, right? So you're building this bridge out. So generally, I like to have 2 or 3 pieces of the bridge. So I'll use 2 or 3 different pitch sandwiches to build the bridge out. So the bridge is now completed. And the prospect sees the bridge and they can see themselves on the other side. At this point, this is the close. This is where you as a salesperson extend your hand and say, hey, Mr. Prospect, I can help you with this. Take my hand. I'll guide you across the bridge and we'll both get you to the other side just like you want. That's the close, right? So the prospect says, yes, we're good to go. You take their hand and you walk them across the bridge with your product, and then you help them with your product or service achieve their dreams. Now, sometimes the prospect will be like, oh, I see the bridge. I'm not sure about this bridge. Is it safe to cross? Oh, I'm not sure. Like, can I get across the bridge in time? These are all objections and things in the prospect's mind that are preventing them from taking your hand and walking across the bridge. So this is where you have to explain to them and show them, demonstrate, oh, well, Mr. Prospect, I hear what you're saying. You're saying this, blah, blah, blah. Well, this bridge has been we've been building bridges like this for the past 30 years. And we've actually helped like 1,500 other customers just like you, but like you have to handle the objection, but it's all certainty. They want to make sure that they can safely cross from one side to the other with your bridge. That's all they're looking for. But the salesperson at the end extends their hand. Hey, why don't we do this? Let's get you set up. This is kind of what it looks like. Boom, boom, boom. Does that sound fair enough? Right? Boom. They give you their hand, you hold their hand across the bridge, and then you're ready to rock and roll. That's how people buy. That's how you make people buy. It's not how flashy or gimmicky your sales pitch is. It isn't ultra discounts or coupons or one-time offer. It's none of that. It's understanding the pain over here and today and understanding tomorrow what that prospect's world looks like and building the right bridge to get them across. That's how you get people to buy. Okay. So I hope this was helpful in terms of understanding what sales is really about. You don't have to use secret buzzwords at the right time or anything like that. It's just understanding pain, understanding where they want to go, and building the bridge to get them across the other side. All right. Well, this is the bullpen. I'll see you next Tuesday. Looking forward to it. Have fun.